President, I've had the privilege of serving with Senator Brasso for any number of years. We were the co-leads on the Environment and Public Works Committee and actually found common ground on a whole lot of issues and disagreed on a number of them as well. But on a personal level, we have I think, a very good friendship and had for a number of years a good collaboration on Environment and Public Works. I disagree with almost everything he said. Almost everything he said. And I'm not a disagreeable person, but I always look for common ground, and I'm sorry to say I didn't hear a whole lot from him today to do that. The suggestion that somehow we shouldn't be concerned about climate change, the climate crisis that has visited our planet. A couple of points I just should share with all of us. The United Kingdom, this was off the news yesterday, day before, Monday and Tuesday this week. United Kingdom broke its record for the highest recorded temperature multiple times on Monday, reaching 104.4 degrees Fahrenheit. In Great Britain, for the most part, they don't have air conditioning. Record temperature, 104.4 degrees, just on Monday alone. There are airport runways in Great Britain that are melting. That's right, melting because it's so hot. The railways in the United States are buckling from the heat, with riders warned to stay home. To stay home. Over 1,100 people have died in Spain and Portugal just in the last week from heat-related causes. Wildfires in France have forced 30,000 people. That's about as many people as we have in Dover, Delaware, our state capital. 30,000 people to evacuate. Organizers plan to pour tens of thousands of liters of water onto the Tour de France route. It's a huge international bicycle competition to prevent the road from melting in the heat. More than 40 million people in the United States are under extreme heat warnings across the Great Plains and California. Around 60 million Americans will likely see temperatures at or above 100 degrees, not this year, not this month, this week. Nearly 60% of California is dealing with excessive drought, while 20% of Texas, that's 5% worse than last week, experiences exceptional drought, the most extreme level on the drought scale. And firefighters this week are currently battling 89 large fires in 12 states in the United States. That's just off the news pages of 2 days ago. Mr. President, amid calls to lower the price of gasoline, I rise to speak on the news this week regarding climate change. There's no doubt that we are living in unprecedented times as a nation and as a planet. After an unprecedented pandemic ground our global economy to a halt, Americans have been struggling to return to normal. As we saw in the news earlier this year, unprecedented supply chain issues from the pandemic, along with Vladimir Putin's unprovoked invasion of the Ukraine, have caused gas prices to rise until this month. We know this in turn has fueled inflation and put economic strain on families and small businesses across our country. President Biden has responded to this challenge with unprecedented action, rallying our global partners and releasing record amounts of oil from our strategic petroleum reserve. The result has garnered less attention from the media. Over the past 34 days, gasoline prices have declined by more than $0.50 per gallon. I'll say that again. Over the past 34 days, gasoline prices have declined by more than 50 cents per gallon, the fastest decline in over a decade. More than 20,000 gas stations across our country are now offering gas for under $4 per gallon. Leading economists expect this decline in gas prices to continue, maybe even to accelerate. In addition, our nation is on track to surpass our historic pre-pandemic levels of oil production by 2023. I want to say that again. In addition, our nation is on track to surpass our historic pre-pandemic levels of oil production by 2023, next year. Still, these are short-term solutions that leave Americans susceptible to higher gas prices. Why? It is the global market that largely determines gasoline prices. That means as long as our economy runs mostly on fossil fuels, energy prices will continue to be vulnerable to the forces outside our nation. We cannot drill our way out of this problem. And in the long run, the best way to ensure that American families have access to lower prices at the pump is by reducing our dependence on foreign oil and on fossil fuels. I'm going to say that again. In the long run, the best way we can ensure that American families have access to lower prices at the pump is by reducing our dependence on fossil fuels. Doing so just isn't critical for protecting Americans from high energy costs. It's necessary for addressing the existential threat of climate change. Make no mistake, the climate crisis is here. It's here. It's in Europe. It's in Asia. It's in South America. It's in Africa. It is all over the world. We see it in the form of unprecedented heat waves, currently affecting and impacting millions of people across Europe, as I suggested, and our country too. We see climate change in the form of unprecedented drought, driving wildfires across the western U.S. that are bigger than my state. Currently, firefighters are batting, as I said, 89 large fires in 12 states, and it's only expected to get worse. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, we call them NOAA, the decade-long mega drought in the American West is not just persisting, it's intensifying and expanding east, worsening the threat of additional wildfires. And we see climate change in the form of rising sea levels that produce waves able to wipe out weddings in Hawaii just last weekend. This event is a real-life consequence of what experts have already told us. Sea levels are rising faster than they have in more than 3,000 years and are expected to rise by an additional foot by 2050. We know this firsthand in Delaware. Delaware is the first state. Delaware is a state, the lowest lying state in America is Delaware. Our state is sinking. The seas around us are rising. Down in Louisiana, a big state in another part of the country, Louisiana, they are experiencing sea level rise as well. In the state of Louisiana, you know what? Every 100 minutes, they lose a piece of land to the sea the size of a football field in Louisiana. I'll say that again. Every 100 minutes in Louisiana, they lose a piece of land the size of a football field. Every 100 minutes. And we see climate change in the form of sea level rises in all up and down the East Coast, down to Florida, Gulf Coast, East Coast, West Coast, everywhere. The extreme weather is costing us. According to an analysis of data from NOAA and the global reinsurance program Munich Re, severe weather caused more than $121 billion with a B, and $1 billion in property damage in the United States between 2017 and 2021. $121 billion. That's an average of about $940 per household in business and didn't take into account the property losses from the historic wildfires that I've just been talking about. We continue to see the destruction that accompanies climate change happen on a global scale as well, threatening the critical infrastructure we rely on for international trade. This week, as I mentioned, the kind of record-breaking temperatures that they're seeing in England and in Europe and Germany and other places. Most tragic of all, these climate-induced events are putting people's lives at risk. Extreme heat is the leading cause of weather-related deaths in our country. And according to NOAA, the 12 most costly extreme weather events in 2021 alone resulted in the deaths of nearly 700 people. Addressing this crisis is the challenge of our time. It is directly tied to the prices we pay at the pump and to nearly every facet of our lives. Instead of doubling down on policies that continue to fail American consumers and the planet, as some of our colleagues have been advocating for today, we should focus our attention on passing legislation that accelerates our transition to a clean energy future and leaves no community behind in the process. It is our ticket to a brighter future, and one without record-breaking heat waves, high gas prices, and unprecedented devastation. Let me close with apologies to Stephen Sills. Stephen Sills, great songwriter, singer, Buffalo Springfield, iconic group. Long ago, he wrote a song that had these words. We've heard them a million times, and it starts something like this. There's something happening here, just what it is ain't exactly clear. That's his words, the opening line from one of the great songs of all time. Well, with apologies to Stephen Sills, there is something happening here, and it is exactly clear what is causing it. It's a climate crisis. We have way too much carbon in the air. We're producing more, and that's the bad news. Here's the good news. We can do something about it. We can do something about it. And part of it is, I'll just close with this. 30% of our carbon emissions in this nation come from our cars, trucks, and vans. 30%. More and more we're seeing automakers build cars, trucks, vans that to run on not gas and diesel, but on electric. And we're beginning to install literally thousands of charging stations all over the country to help provide an opportunity for people to charge their batteries and also to buy hydrogen when we switch to hydrogen for fuel cell vehicles. Those expansions and those investments will put literally hundreds of thousands of Americans, probably more than that, to work across the country, in every corner of the country, to enable us to reduce carbon emissions from our mobile fleets. We have the opportunity to, instead of just burning coal and to some extent natural gas, we have the opportunity to create clean energy from advanced nuclear. I'm a Navy guy, 27 years in the Navy all in. And we've been doing nuclear energy in the Navy for 50 years. You know how many people have died in the Navy from exposure to radioactive materials? 0. 50 years, perfect record. And we're now already on the beginning of a new development and a new exploration and pursuit of nuclear energy using small modular nuclear reactors. A lot safer than ones we've been building for years. We're in a position now to have literally from Maine all the way down to Maryland, offshore wind that creates enormous amounts of carbon-free electricity that we can use to charge our cars, trucks, and vans, and actually put a lot of people to work building those windmills and doing good things for our planet. The climate crisis is here. The question is, what do we do about it? And there is an opportunity to meet it head on. And it's not like you got to eat your broccoli. No. This is something we can do, and we can actually not just do good things for a planet, help us avert greater disaster in the days going forward. We're going to actually create a lot of economic opportunity, a lot of jobs, and we can do that, and we can do both. We need to do that. We need to do that. And with that, Mr. President, I yield the floor to my friend from Texas. I think I'll sit here and hear what he has to say. Thank you, Mr. President.